About a month has passed since I thought of doing this illustration, and that's Charlie Kirk in the Anyone But K series. And the Anyone But K series is just a series that I thought of just how aesthetically pleasing that Che Guevara shirt is, but I would be walking around here in Kenya or just go around the world or just talk to people about what they think K stood for. And even the people who were familiar about who he is didn't really have much of an idea of who he was, what he did, what he said. And then when it comes to here in Kenya, some people might have, we have access to the internet, so people might find information about him. But I also see people wearing oh, I'm from the Franklin family reunion. And I doubt these people are part of the Franklin family. So some people just wear shirts because they're available to be worn and they just bought at big sort of thrift market kiosk type places. So I've done several of these, maybe at least 50, and I might do more of these highlight videos about them particularly. But with Charlie Kirk, I think he might be the perfect inverse Che Guevara in the sense that many of the people who would actually know and are wearing Che Guevara shirts because of who they actually know that he was, and these quotes I'm going to read for you from him, if they hear these quotes, they would read these quotes, hear these quotes, take in these quotes as something positive, get something positive out of them. This could have something to do with their collectivism, but when it comes to the spectrum of individualist to collectivist, to an anarcho-capitalist like I am, even Charlie Kirk was advocating for too much collectivism for my liking. Digression aside, back to the Che Guevara's heroic sort of people. If they heard the quotes that are given from Charlie Kirk to say that he's a fascist, he's a racist, he's a sexist, he's all these Christian nationalists, those type of things, when I'm listening to them, okay, I might not agree with them completely, but he's not like this extremist, radical person out there. And then the key part to all of this, these people will ignore the things that Che Guevara literally did based off of his ideology and focus so heavy on the things Charlie Kirk's ideology would make other people do. So here are the Che Guevara quotes. The blacks, those magnificent examples of the African race, who have maintained their racial purity thanks to their lack of an affinity with bathing, have seen their territory invaded by a new kind of slave, the Portuguese. That's my Che Guevara for now. Probably not going to maintain this in other videos, but he talks about racial purity here as what I think is a positive, even though he ascribes it to the negative of just being stinky by not bathing. But Charlie Kirk alluded to the fact that there's actually some black women in the United States of America that said they got their positions due to affirmative action, so he's the racist. And totes just wants a all-white country. Next one. The black is indolent and a dreamer, spending his meager wage on frivolity or drink. The European has the tradition of working and saving, which has pursued him as far as this corner of America and drives him to advance himself, even independently of his own individual aspirations. Now maybe here Che Guevara and Charlie Kirk are on the same page, because people were saying, Kirk talking about affirmative action was saying that black people can't do it by themselves unless they had a helping hand. And right here, isn't that what Che Guevara is saying? There is something inferior about black people's ability to advance themselves, but hey, good thing that white superior ability to advance themselves is also something that has resulted in white people setting up these systems, at least the good white people, the non-racist white people, have set up these just social systems for the greater good of the POC all over the world. And that's people of color, not colored people like you racist white people in South Africa used to say. While on the topic of South Africa, this is another quote. We speak out to put the world on guard against what is happening in South Africa. The brutal policy of apartheid is applied before the eyes of the nations of the world. The peoples of Africa are compelled to endure the fact that on the African continent, the superiority of one race over another remains official policy, and that in the name of this racial superiority, murder is committed with impunity. Can the United Nations do nothing to stop this? Now right here, I wonder if he was questioning if the United Nations is capable of stopping these sort of things. So I wonder what they would have said about Che Guevara's actions. But that would be another digression. Here he's talking about this superiority, ostensible superiority of the white people in South Africa to kill the Negro people, the black people, the colored people, while people with ostensible power don't do anything about it. And in the United States of America, Charlie Kirk has talked about how within the black community, which I consider to be specifically American descendants of slaves, there seems to be inferior attention given to the majority of cases where black people lose their lives in violent ways, which is by the hands of other black people. And this to me speaks to that bigotry of low expectations. You're like, oh, the black people can't help themselves. They just get violent. You say a word to them and then they get violent. They just can't help. They can't be helped. This was said after Che Guevara had had a Marxist conversion, had embraced Marxism. And Karl Marx is also one of the people in the Anyone But K series, because at least he just kept words. But even the words he said are horrible. And that's what I kind of can agree some part with some of the people. I sympathize or relate to what some people are saying about what Charlie Kirk said, because words are important. They actually do have meaning. Things that can happen from them do have meaning. The concepts that are set up by them. And to me, communism, that sort of collectivism, is one of the worst concepts ever. But Karl Marx didn't actually go out and actually kill people directly like Che Guevara did. Che Guevara is known to have murdered and tortured people. That is different than what Charlie Kirk has been accused of so far. I'm not utopian. I'm not living in a fantasy. I realize that even under states right now, that states are institutes that use proxy violence. People use them and they vote for these people who might eventually go out and murder and kill other people that they think needs to be done for a greater good of society, whatever you want to define that in. And we know that's tied into there. We wouldn't have evolved and made it here if we were complete pacifists and said, if you have murdered and killed somebody, you're not someone we can look up to, we're not someone you can follow. That is built into human nature. That is built into just being an earthling on planet spaceship Earth for the time being. There's just ways to rationalize some of these things. You can look back in the past and say, oh, Che Guevara was a man of his times. He was a sadist compared to what we say now, but then if you actually look back then, that was kind of the thing to do. Oh yeah, he had that machismo and the Latin people, Latino sides and whatnot, so you know that's why he was treating the homosexual people in that way. But if he was now, he'd be living in a different way. You can say that if you want. But that's it for now with this Anyone But K Charlie Kirk merchandise drawing illustration sort of explanation thing. With Charlie Kirk, people will pick a few things that he said and then say that is more important than all the things that he did, the life that he led, the actions that he made, due to the potential harm that would have come from him continuing. That's why some people hate him so much or just are apathetic to his passing in this way of going out there and choosing speech to converse with people. Regardless of how you thought his intentions were, he was using speech. That was his main tool. To Che Guevara on the inverse, who is just this person who, yes, he used speech, but he used guns, he used violence, he used force. But then people look at those things that he did, the things that he said, the quotes that he's had, the actions that he's had, and then they say discount that because that is a fraction of who he was. And what he was supporting was actually a lot more meaningful than those things you're going to be putting out and cherry picking. So I think that's why he's just really fitting for this Anyone But K series. Let me know what you think. There's a whole bunch of other merchandise with the Anyone But K series and other things. There's over 250 designs there and a bunch of other ideas that I have in mind. I'm looking into setting it up where I have my own store and I'm selling limited runs of shirts because there's so many of them. So after I've set a certain amount, 33 or whatnot. But for now, using Redbubble, which has been working well enough, there's going to be links to that. Just finding a way to monetize and profit somehow from some of these things that I'm doing, the ideas and whatnot. But with this Charlie Kirk thing, when posting it, I don't know if it's just because a lot of people were doing it. I posted this maybe 5 days after, a few days after. And I don't think it's just that. I think it's also because people are ghoulish enough to have been reposting or doing images of the actual assassination and posting that up. And that's just... I know I said ghoulish, but more accurately, that's human. Some people actually defined him as a hateful person and hated him and would want to celebrate this. So, yeah, that's the diversity of people and the way we see things. So, guys, gals, and everybody else in between, that's it for now. Till next time, goodbye.